Greetings, mathematicians. We are looking at comparing fractions today. So let's go ahead and put our date in the date column. Comparing fractions. And our page number is going to be 4 left and 4 right. All right. Take a second, get that info in, and let's flip over. So I've actually gotten this started a little bit, so let's go step by step and we'll fill in as we go. I'm going to switch up my pen color. Today's title, we've got strategies for comparing fractions. So the verb, or the action that we're doing right now is strategizing. So we're looking for strategies, and that pen's pretty dead. Let's switch it up. And our objective. All right, pretty easy objective here. I'm going to read it once. I will compare fractions using multiple methods. So when we talk about multiple, we mean more than one. And by comparing, we're going to be looking at, like apple versus like an apple versus, I don't have an orange pen, so what can I draw? How about flowers? Some tulips. So when we're comparing two items, what's similar, what's different, we're going to be doing that with fractions. So before we do anything, let's look at that objective one more time. Read it with me. I will compare fractions using multiple methods. All right, let's scroll on down. Vocabulary. These are the symbols that we'll be using, and we want to name them. So open, we have a line like this that's open to the left. This one is greater than. Just like when we read, we're going to be looking at fractions left to right. So if the fraction on the left is bigger than the fraction on the right, we will put a greater than symbol. So for instance, 1/2 is greater than 1/8. Two big pieces versus 8 small pieces. So we could say 1/2 is greater than 1/8. That would be a greater than example. Next up, we've got less than. And I should have space between less and than. And this would be if we put them in a different order, we would say 1/8 is less than 1/2. So same fraction, the order determines whether we are greater than or less than. Now, this one you should know means equal. And yesterday we had talked about equivalent fractions, so an example of that would be 1/2 and 2/4. They're similar. Some of the terminology that we need to know when comparing fractions would be common factor. And we're gonna look to that sample problem over here. Let's see, 1/2 and 2/4. Let's zoom in on the denominator. So 2 and 4. What factors do they have in common? So we wouldn't be able to add or subtract these because they have different denominators. It's easy if we change our 1/2 to an equivalent fraction to compare it. So if we were looking at common factors, how do we go from 2 to 4? We could turn this into 4, right? So 2/4 is equal to 2/4. So if we're changing that, 1/2 times 2 times 2, we get 2/4. And then we can compare these two numbers. So the common factor is what number can I multiply by to get to that? Or conversely, I can change them both. So both of them, the greatest common or the least common factor they have would be 8. I could change these to denominators of 8 and then compare. Last but not least, we're talking common denominators, and we're going to do this visually. So when the denominators are the same, they are common. So common denominators would look like this. When we have common denominators, such as 1/3 and 2/3, since they are the same pieces, we can go, let's make a box, make 2. Let's cut it into thirds. So if this is my 1/3, I can say, all right, I've got 1/3. And if I'm looking at my 2/3, I can say 1, 2. Which one is bigger, the top row or the bottom row? Our bottom row is 2/3, our top row is 1/3. I can visually look at this. I can see that 1/3 is smaller than 2. So I can go back up. Am I greater or less than? 1/3 is less than 2/3. Excellent. Now, take a moment. Get this into your notes. The next one, I'm going to be using my Post-it fraction strips, which I think I'm running out of. I'm going to have to order some more. So let's grab 1. Grab 2, and I'm going to move to the next page. So our strategy would be to draw and compare. I'm going to use very basic fractions. I'm not going to go too wild with them. Put them pretty close together. So if I'm comparing, let's see, 1/3 and let's go with 4/5. 1/3 and 4/5. So my first piece is broken into thirds. And my next one is broken into fifths. 1, 2. You could be using your ruler to help you get equivalent spacing. Let's see, if I've got 1/3 shaded, I'm going to get to about here. If I have 4/5, I'm going to go 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, and already at 3/5, I am bigger than that 1/3. So 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, and then one more fifth. If I add them up, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, I get 4/5. So let's visually look at it. We can draw it out and look. Which one is bigger? 4/5 is bigger, but just like when we read, draw and compare, we're going left to right. We're going to read from left to right. 1/3 is less than 4/5. All right, and I'm going to wrap these notes up, but before we do, I'm going to show you a tip/trick. All right, it has to do with these comparisons. So let's use the same problem, and let's look at it slightly different. 1/3 is something to 4/5. We know the answer, but let's pretend that we do not. And we are going to do something called cross-multiplying. So I'm going to circle those two, and I'm going to go in this direction, going from this denominator up to this numerator. Stay with me. 3 times 4 is 12. I'm going to go with the other two numbers that are on here, and again, I'm going from bottom up. So I'm going to go in this direction. 5 times 1 is 5. Which number is bigger? My 5 or my 12? That's right, it's 12. So 5 is less than 12. All right? And I'm going to show you why this works. Now, this is a shortcut. This is a trick. This is a tip. 1/3 and 4/5. The reason we're starting at the denominator and we're going up, let's distribute. So 5 times 1 is 5. Let's distribute it again to the denominator. 5 times 3. We get 15. Circle it. Let's go from the bottom left up. 3 times 4 is 12. Over 3 times 5 is 15. We have created equivalent fractions, or I'm sorry, equivalent denominators. So now we have common denominators. Now we can compare. We can compare pieces of 15. So we can actually say that 1/3 is equal to 5/15, and we can say that 4/5 is equal to 12/15. So when we're doing this comparison, we can say 5/15 or 12/15, which is bigger? 12. So we can say less than. So the trick is just multiplying the denominator by numerator. You get that numerator. Denominator by numerator, we get the numerator. This will get you to the correct answer. This is why it's the correct answer. You're creating an equivalent fraction that has the common denominator that we talked about. So they're both 15. Let's label that common denominator. Now, this is the method your parents probably know. My goal is to just visually show you what it looks like. So if I'm going to grab my strips and bring them back down. So 1/3. What we're actually doing is I have 5 pieces. I'm going to cut each one of these pieces into 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. So we have 15 parts now. So what is shaded is 12/15. And up here, I'm going to cut each one of these 3 pieces into 5 pieces, which is a little tricky, but I'm up to the challenge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I have what is shaded is 5 out of 15, and I can compare. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, your next step will be some prodigy, and then I will see you back